Welcome back everyone to the 13.22 edition of the Best Solo Carries, where we break down 3 champions for every single role that are a cut above everyone else when it comes down to solo queue strength. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Fresh off some huge buffs from the last 2 patches, and making his very first appearance on the solo carry list in a very long time is K'Sante. Riot has dumbed down K'Sante over the past 2 patches, taking away some skill expression while adding more consistent power to his kit. Although the very elite K'Sante players may not agree with this direction, the fact is the changes have made K'Sante a much better champion for the average player. For matchups right now, it's Fiora who's giving most K'Sante players troubles, so she's a solid ban option. K'Sante Q3 can be a lot more difficult to use in the Fiora matchup due to her W, especially if you are newer to K'Sante. Summoner spell optimization is important to get right on K'Sante, and now that a lot of his interactions with Flash have been removed, it makes taking Ghost with Teleport even better. Currently, Ghost is winning a whole 3% more than Flash on K'Sante, which is actually a pretty massive gap. You already have great mobility from K'Sante's kit, so by running Ghost, it makes your sticking power absolutely nuts when those mobility spells are on cooldown. Whenever a champion gets significantly changed, we always try to get a brand new full game commentary out on our website from one of our challenger players, and Strompist has a new commentary for K'Sante that has just been released. The standard core build for K'Sante is an Iceborne Gauntlet Rush into Sunfire Aegis 2nd and Gargoyle Stoneplate 3rd. Grasp is the keystone rune with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, followed by Biscuits and Approach Velocity for secondaries. One champion who's actually a pretty good answer to K'Sante and has seen a big spike in power over the past couple of patches is Nasus. In regards to the K'Sante matchup, once you hit level 6, and especially on your Divine Sunderer completion, you can really begin taking over in the 1v1. You just gotta make sure you play safer pre-6, as that is K'Sante's window to try and get an advantage. The only matchup that Nasus players are really struggling against right now is Tahm Kench. The buffs last patch made Tahm pretty nasty in the 1v1, and his bully power early on is hard for Nasus to contain. Tahm is nerfed here in 13.22, but he's still going to be one of the better ban options for Nasus. To help with your Q stacking early on in lane, look to rush Lucidity Boots on Nasus. Not only the haste, but the movement speed from Boots 2 really helps to secure farm and then space away from champions that are looking to trade with you. Only 50% of Nasus players actually build Lucidity Boots, but those who do win about 5% more than SkillCapped users. After picking up Boots, the core build will consist of a Divine Sunderer into Frozen Heart and a situational tank item. Fleet Footwork is the keystone rune with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Optimal secondaries include Second Wind and Unflinching. For the first time in a while, Malphite is dropping out of the top 3 for top lane, and taking his spot as the all-around better tank right now is Ornn. Ornn actually plays very well into Malphite, and with games lasting longer due to the anti-snowball patch, Ornn is going to give you a lot more value in that regard. That is the main reason to why we have Ornn higher priority now, as he literally gives his team bonus stats the longer games last, which means the 13.20 patch has been huge for him. One matchup that can be more difficult for Ornn is Fiora, so she's a good ban to consider. Hitting your E with Ornn is quite hard in the matchup when Fiora has her W up. An optimization for your skill order on Ornn that many challenger players run is maxing E out second instead of Q. Only 20% of Ornn players plat and below max their E out second, while 65% of Ornn players in challenger do. Even one of the best Ornn one tricks, who's over 1000 LP challenger and goes by the name of Macro, maxes E second in all his games. E at max rank simply does more damage than Q, so when it comes down to bursting somebody with your full combo, more points in E is more value there. E damage even scales off your bonus armor and magic resist, while Q has a bonus AD ratio, which is pretty useless on Ornn. If everyone were to max out E second on Ornn, his overall win rate would likely be pretty nuts, as those who do go for E second win 54% of the time, as opposed to Q max second users at 51%. The core build for Ornn is a Sunfire Aegis Rush into Radiant Virtue second and a situational tank item third. Grasp is the keystone rune with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. Best secondaries are Free Boots and Biscuits. Making her way into the top 3 for jungle for the first time all season is Morgana. And yes, you heard that right, this is Morgana jungle. After 2 patches of repeated buffs to Morgana's W, her clear has become absolutely insane and completely foolproof at the same time. It takes no skill at all to throw down W on your camps, and with the spell being AoE, it allows her to melt through a clear. The only thing you gotta watch out early on with Morgana is being invaded. Our challenger jungler BMX Specs was invaded when playing Morgana in his recent full game commentary, and he shows how to deal with it really well. One jungler to avoid when picking Morgana is Rengar, as he's a jungler more likely to invade than most, so it's a good ban. Since Morg can blast through a full clear faster than most junglers. Unless there's a super free gank for you after you're done clearing, look to cycle your camps on repeat and hit 6 as soon as possible. Morg at 6 has really strong skirmish power, especially with her recent buffs to R, and if you cycle your camps on repeat, it's a near guarantee you'll hit 6 before the enemy jungler, so once you hit it, you can try to force skirmishes. The build for Morgana is Liandry's Rush into Zanya's 2nd and Rylai's 3rd. Pick up Dark Harvest for the Keystone Rune with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. Roll with Freeboots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. With a few meta junglers from recent patches like Graves and Briar hit with nerfs in 13.22, it's going to give Nocturne even more priority. Noct is going to play quite similar to Morgana in the sense that you really want the level 6 spike as quick as possible. This allows you to be really direct and consistent with your game plan on Nocturne, which over time will lead to great results. Ban out a jungler who wants to be more proactive early on when you're picking Nocturne. Jarvan is one of the best options right now with his high presence in meta. The build you should be running on Nocturne is a Stridebreaker Rush into Black Cleaver 2nd, and it's situational from then on out. Lethal Tempo is the best Keystone Rune with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Eyeball Collection and Ultimate Hunter are great for secondaries. One of the highest presence junglers at Worlds this year, and at the same time a phenomenal jungler for solo queue, is Jarvan. Until Riot substantially nerfs the Gore with Shojin item combo, Jarvan is going to remain a powerful carry. Jarvan has one of the most deadly 2-item spikes for any jungler, as his skirmish becomes absolutely godlike with the super low cooldown on his EQ combo. Something that a lot of challenger players are running on Jarvan, but very few low elo Jarvan players are doing, is picking up Lucidity boots instead of Steel Caps or Mercs. Lucidity boots are the most popular boots on Jarvan and challenger right now, but for gold elo they are by far the least popular. By running Lucidity boots, it gives you even more haste and amplifies the skirmish of Jarvan even further, so definitely try them out if you haven't already. Jarvan is going to struggle more into comps with lots of mobility or peel power, so a few good bans to consider for the current meta are Ezreal or Rakan. The optimal rune page for Jarvan consists of Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, followed by Freeboots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. The most played mid laner in the game right now is Orianna, and it's for good reason. Repeated buffs throughout Season 13 have finally put her in a spot to where players have taken notice. Being near a 100% pick ban champion at Worlds definitely helps with her solo queue popularity as well. There's really nobody better when it comes down to a reliable blind pick mid, and in 13.22, Riot is actually increasing the missile speed of Ori's basic attack, which will make her feel even smoother to play. Orianna's only weakness is that she is shorter range than a lot of other mages. This leads to poorer results into an artillery mage like Xerath and a longer range pick champ like Syndra. Syndra with her high pick rate is definitely one of the better bans for Ori right now. Something really interesting on the analytical side of things with Ori is that 3 points into W and then Q max is what's winning the most in solo queue. Back in 13.17, the base damage on Ori W got buffed, which makes this skill order adaptation much stronger. The build on Orianna can be very versatile depending on the game. Into a very squishy enemy comp, going for a magic pen core of Ludens and Shadowflame works perfect. Against a more beefier comp, Liandry's and Archangels will help with your extended fight power. Phase Rush will be the optimal Keystone Rune when you're up against champions that need to dive onto you to deal their damage, while Aerie is going to work best into heavier ranged comps. The best mid lane assassin that you can play for solo queue in 13.22 is Naafiri. Naafiri is your prototypical solo queue menace, as her combination of catch power, burst, and durability allows her to excel in the chaotic nature of solo queue. It can feel so helpless playing against a fed Naafiri because not only will she deal an insane amount of burst, it's nearly impossible to fight back against her due to the shield she gets from her ultimate and the passive from Eclipse. To find the most success in Naafiri, you want to be positioning yourself in spots to where you can capitalize on the enemy squishies being caught out alone. After laning phase ends, you want to be shoving out side lanes and then looking for flank opportunities to where you can single out squishy carries. Naafiri's kit is all about finding catch plays, as it's much more difficult to play straight up 5v5s with her. One of the most annoying mid lane champions to play into as Naafiri is Lissandra, as her point and click lockdown makes it very difficult to dive into fights, so she's a good ban. Standard core build is an Eclipse Rush into Black Cleaver 2nd and Cyrilda's Grudge 3rd. Even after the nerfs last patch, First Strike is still the best Keystone Rune for Naafiri, with Freeboots, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Optimal secondaries are Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter. A mid lane champion that has really shot up in priority for solo queue as of recent, and rounding out the top 3 for mid is Sylas. Sylas is a champion who scales extremely well with levels, so the anti-snowball patch was a big win for him. W cooldown literally drops from 12 seconds at rank 1 all the way down to 6 seconds once you have it maxed out, so the skirmish potential of Sylas becomes insanely strong at level 9. The first couple levels are where it can be a bit tricky with Sylas. All of his spells have extremely long cooldowns early on, so you have to be wary of this and respect the enemy when your spells are down. down. The only matchup you really need to worry about if you're picking Sylas is Vex, so she's our recommended ban. The more burst-oriented build is performing very well in solo queue, as you have much better one-shot power when you catch the enemy out. Night Harvester Rush into Shadow Flame second is the 2-item spike you are playing towards. You even grab Electrocute for the Keystone Rune, which molds with the identity of this burst setup extremely well. Vayne is such a powerful carry right now, and she kicks off the top 3 for ADC. Over the past patch, there's been a new setup that has emerged on Vayne, and it's giving her even more versatility. Vayne has always been known as that champion with great extended fight strength, but with weaker burst potential. Well, that's no longer a thing, because there's a new burst build that allows Vayne to adapt and play super well into more squishy comps. 3-item core is Stormrazor, Essence Reaver, and Ghostblade. Both Storm and Ghostblade were buffed in recent patches, so it's a big reason to why this build is caught on and is performing exceptionally well. Q damage in combination with the passives from all 3 items allows Vayne to hit extremely hard with that first auto. If you've kinda held off on playing Vayne in the past due to a more mechanically intensive kit, this build really dumbs things down and requires less spacing skill and kiting prowess due to all the burst and movement speed you get. If you're going for this burst build, Fleet Footwork is going to work much better than Lethal Tempo for the Keystone Rune, since stacking attack speed is counterproductive for what this build is good at. Now, if you're playing into a more tanky comp that you won't be able to burst out as quickly, going for the Shiv into Trinity Force build is still a great play. Rune Page to run with this setup is Lethal Tempo, as you're playing for more extended fight power and want that added attack speed. Matchup wise for Vayne, it's going to be the early game ADCs who will be of most issues to her, so using your ban on Ashe, Kate, or Draven is a good idea. Kate is the most played out of that bunch, so she's highest priority right now. An ADC who has been seeing great success in recent patches but really flying under the radar is Miss Fortune. Remember, Miss Fortune is an ADC who builds lethality, so she was indirectly buffed by the Ghostblade changes back in 13.20. It's such a massive 1-item spike for Miss Fortune and really allows you to take over throughout the early to mid game. The 3-item core that you should be running in the majority of your games is a Ghostblade Rush into the Collector second and Cyrilda's Grudge third. Being an ADC who lacks a gap closer, those champions who can engage from 2 screens away are generally good bans for MF, so either Jarvan or Rakan are good options for the meta. If you're someone who's been running Berserker Greaves on your MF, then look to swap over to Swifty Boots. Boots of Swiftness help MF a ton with repositioning and spacing in fights, and the attack speed from Berserkers is not as valuable when building lethality. The rune page you should be running on Miss Fortune is First Strike with Magical Footwear, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Best secondaries are Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. Back in the top 3 for a second patch in a row as a very powerful ADC is Jinx. When it comes down to that mid to late game teamfight ADC, there are a few who offer more strength than Jinx. What's really great about Jinx right now as well is that she has 2 viable rush items which she can adapt to based on the enemy comp. Stormrazor and Kraken Slayer are on very equal footings. Into a comp that is more squishy, the upfront burst you get from Stormrazor will help really well. Into a comp that has more tank champions, Kraken Slayer's 3-hit passive helps you shred those beefier targets over an extended fight. Like Miss Fortune, Jinx lacking a gap closer is more vulnerable into heavy dive comps, so banning out Jarvan is a good idea right now. The rune page that you should be running in all of your games is Lethal Tempo with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cut Down, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. Even with the direct nerfs this patch, we expect Senna to remain a top tier pick, and she is the first support in the top 3 for 13.22. Senna has been a cut above all supports in recent patches due to many indirect buffs, so the nerfs this patch should just bring her more in line with the other top tier supports. Ghostblade buffs have made the item a really great pickup on the champ, and it's heavily outperforming Eclipse as Senna's mythic item. 2-item core of Umbral Glaive into Ghostblade feels super nice right now. Champions with strong catch potential are who Senna is more vulnerable against, so using your ban on Blitzcrank is a good idea. The optimal rune page is Fleet Footwork with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Cut Down, followed by Biscuits and Approach Velocity for secondaries. It's really important you're adapting your summoner spell combination with each game. If your ADC does not take heal, then it's really nice to have on Senna. A lot of ADCs these days run Ghost or Cleanse instead of heal, so it's made taking heal on Senna way more viable. Vice versa, if your ADC is running heal themselves, taking exhaust will work great in that case. In games where Senna is able to take heal, she's winning nearly 54% of the time, which is a pretty absurd stat line. The most banned support and subsequently one of the most powerful supports for the current meta is Blitzcrank. Ever since Blitz was buffed a few patches back, it's led to a snowball effect. With more mana scaling being added to Blitz's kit, it's made an Everfrost Rush extremely deadly, which in turn offers you a lot of solo carry strength. Shirelius is a completely fine alternative as well, but with the Everfrost, you really have the ability to take matters into your own hands and be rewarded much more for landing those hooks due to the added damage and chain CC potential that Everfrost provides. The complete core build that you should be looking to run is an Everfrost Rush into Zeke 2nd and Knight's Vow 3rd. With Morgana making a push back into meta for not only support but for jungle as well, she's a really good ban for Blitz. Something you really need to get in the habit of doing on Blitzcrank is pathing towards mid lane after every single recall. This is something actionable that you can immediately implement in your future games to open up more windows of opportunity. Pathing towards mid lane after a reset instead of going straight bot will lead you to arriving to bot lane a few seconds later if nothing ends up happening around mid, but if a fight does break out, you being there right away instead of sitting bot lane can be a game changer. The best rune page for Blitzcrank is Glacial Augment with Hex Flash, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Optimal secondaries include Bone Plating and Unflinching. 13.21 changes did not significantly alter the power of Zyra, so she's back in the top 3 for support in 13.22. There's been a bit of a shakeup in the optimization for Zyra as a result of the recent changes though. Our challenger player Hector has always been a huge advocate for a Q max first on Zyra, and it's become even better due to the 13.21 changes. E damage was lowered at max rank while Q was increased, so maxing Q out first provides you with much more DPS potential. After all, you're picking Zyra support to be a damage threat and carry your boosted ADC, so getting Q to max rank will allow you to output way more damage in an extended fight. Cooldown of Q also drops by 2 seconds when you get it maxed out, while E is stagnant at 12 seconds regardless of how many points you put into it. Being an immobile, squishy mage, Zyra's worst matchups are against long-range pick champs, so Blitzcrank is a good ban option. The build you want to prioritize on Zyra is a Liandry's Rush into Rylai's second and Demonic Embrace or Zanya's third. Comet is the best keystone rune with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch. Grab Taste of Blood and Relentless Hunter for secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, a look at the best carries for every single role in patch 13.22. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll see you back soon.